It's my great pleasure and privilege to kick off our new summer series, which is an overview of the entire Old Testament in just 7 weeks. Daunted? Don't be. Do you know the Old Testament is one of those bits of the Bible, that makes up most of the Bible in fact, that we get the most constant questions about. What do we do with the seeming acts of violence and uncertainty and hurt? But I firmly believe that the Old Testament is good news. That doesn't mean that it's all straightforward or comfortable, but rather that it speaks of a God who is good and who puts his plans in place and is faithful. And the Old Testament points us from beginning to its end to Jesus Christ and the hope we have in him. The Bible tells one big story. And if we begin to get caught up in the sweep of the Old Testament, then so much of the Old and the New Testament will come alive for us in new ways. So for the next 7 weeks, we're hoping to give you a glimpse of something of that big picture and why it matters. And today we begin, funnily enough, in the beginning. Genesis 1, chapter 1, begins with these words. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And chapter 1 closes with verse 31, which begins, God saw everything that he had made, and indeed, it was very good. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and God saw everything that he had made, and indeed, it was very good. Over the coming weeks, we're going to see how this good creation gets distorted and wounded by human sin. And in fact, the whole narrative of the Bible could be described as being about God's mission to restore creation, to restore his very good creation, and for things to get back to how they should be. Because when we look at the world, we recognize that things are not as they should be in so many ways. We're going to unpack this more over the 7 weeks, but for now, let's begin at the beginning as we had. Because most societies throughout history, if not all societies, tell stories about how and why we are here as people. Other accounts of creation, written around the same time as this Genesis account, speak of various rather unpleasant gods battling it out for control of the universe in the earliest days of its being. Or they speak of human beings being created by mistake, or as slaves to work the land while the various gods put their feet up. We still tell stories today in society about how and why the world was created, and at their best they're compelling scientific accounts, and at their worst they're reductionist. We're nothing but matter. Things were created, things evolved, there's nothing really to life and existence. Maybe sometimes we add a thin spiritual veneer to this, but they're the contemporary narratives of our time. Genesis 1 is radically different, both from those other ancient accounts of how the world came to be and of these reductionist accounts which strip all the joy out of science and say that all that matters is matter. Genesis 1 isn't worried about the technical details of how the world came into being, but rather stakes a deeper claim for a truth that lies at the heart of the entire universe, the whole created cosmos. It claims at least 3 things, probably more, but I'll stick to 3 for the sake of time. Firstly, it claims that there is a creator God, and this God is sovereign, and he chooses to make the universe, and he does so with ease. God speaks his word, and matter and life spring into being. How unlike other ancient accounts of battling gods and unpleasantness and evil, a sovereign God, out of his own goodness, creates the universe, and it is very good. The second thing it tells us is just that creation, that the whole of the universe is good. It is very good, and it was created for our good. And we as human beings were created for its good. This is a claim we need to remember. as we see the damage being done to our perfect planet being the name of a recent David Attenborough documentary about just how wondrous and amazing this world is, and that it gives us just the right conditions for life to form and to flourish. There's a generation springing up now who live in fear and hold on to a reductionist view of the world, that they are nothing as human beings but a drain on this planet's resources. Genesis gives us a compelling reason as human beings to be passionate and active about tackling the current climate emergency and the various environmental catastrophes which lie in wait for us. But it does so not from a place of hopelessness, that we're a drain on the planet, we're the problem, not the solution. Instead, it offers us a view on the current emergency that is based deeply on our hope and our purpose. We were created to do good to the planet, and the planet was created for our good. We can hold on to hope as we strain with all our might to turn this climate emergency around and do good for our planet, which provides all that we need for existence. Thirdly, this Genesis account tells us that you and I, are God's image bearers. Ancient societies, in their creation myths, also spoke about people being divine image bearers, created in the image of the gods. But the only people who were spoken about as being God's image bearers, or the God's image bearers, were the kings, those who had power and authority. They were seen as the ones who could fulfill the gods' outworking on the planet as they reigned with terror or justice or hatred or mercy. The claim of Genesis 1 is that you are a king or queen of the universe. That you are created with the God-given authority to act in a godlike way in caring for the earth and its creatures. You and I have godlike powers of creativity that we can use for good or for evil, to join in God's work of recreation, which is what the story of the Bible is all about, or to damage and destroy the very creation that we are made to be in relationship with. Made to be in such a way that we operate in symbiosis. I've got a 4-year-old who's really into a program called Octonauts, where we learn about symbiosis a lot, where two creatures live together in harmony and benefit from each other under the sea. But we are made to be in symbiosis with this planet. When we are good to it, it can be good to us, or we can abuse our godlike authority and do it harm. If we look after the earth, it's essentially for our own benefit, in a good way. I want to finish with this, because reading Genesis 1 is a bit like walking into an amazing art exhibition that takes your breath away. Now, if you don't like art, then swap out art exhibition for hearing a stunning piece of music or seeing a film that really gets to you, something that moves your soul and speaks to you on a deeper level than you can put into words. I'll stick with the art exhibition image for now. But imagine walking into the gallery and you see a particular piece and it takes your breath away, and you stare at it and it speaks to you at the heart of your being. You're like, whoa, this is amazing. And then someone comes and taps you on the shoulder, seeing that you are enraptured with this image, and they turn to you and say, I can see you've seen what's being created. Would you like to come and meet the artist behind it? That's the invitation of Genesis 1. You look out into the world and all its wonders, a perfect planet, infinite cosmos, ever expanding into the dark, infinite spaces in the back and beyond. And the Bible invites us to come and get to know the character and the person of the artist who lies behind it. And yet it doesn't quite stop there. It doesn't quite stop there. Because it's a bit like, as you meet this artist, they then point out that the canvas you've been captivated by is only half finished. There is more work left to do. And they look at you and ask you if you will consider completing it on their behalf. Then once more, and here's the key thing. They want you to complete their masterpiece in such a way that their own reputation is upheld or even enhanced by your work. That's what Genesis 1 tells us that our role is as human beings. It tells us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are made in the image of God, and that God is good and sovereign and powerful, and the creation he makes is good and wonderful and to be enjoyed, and that we are to participate in making that creation even more wondrous. That's the gift of God-like abilities to us, of our creativity, our scientific understanding, our capacity for learning, for language, for laughter, for community. We're to participate in this amazing act of creation. Over the next 7 weeks, of course, we're going to find out all the ways that we have failed as human beings to live up to that amazing calling. But God is never content to let that story slip through his fingers. The Bible is a story about how he's going to find a way to get back to the creation as it was meant to be, to find a way for us as human beings to live our God-given purpose, to be in relationship with our Creator. We have a God who will not give up on us. Will you join us over the next few weeks as we explore this narrative through the Old Testament? Man, are we in for a ride. But for now, dwell on this. You are a king or a queen, an image bearer of the living God with God-like abilities to do good or to do evil. You have a sovereign God who breathes the world into being with just the force of his voice and no more. He is powerful, he is mighty, he's beyond our comprehension. And the world around us is good. And we can be hopeful as we join in with it. What an amazing God we have. We're going to close this service with an act of worship now. So I'm going to hand back over to Ash.